Hi, I'm Christina with Tinagirl Travels. Today we're in Icy Strait Point in Alaska, and I'm going to show you what kind of shops and what kind of amenities you're going to find in this port of call. Let's have a quick look on Google Maps where Icy Strait Point is located in relation to the most common ports of call in Alaska. So our first stop was Juneau, then we moved on to Skagway, and then Sitka, and now we're here in Hoona, which is where Icy Strait Point is actually located. We'll talk a bit more about Hoona later in the video. While this video is about shopping, I will also be talking about some interesting things you might want to see or do here, like the world's largest zip rider. It was insane. I used to work for Holland America in the early 90s, and I had actually never heard of this port until this trip. So I was super excited to check it out. Now let me explain this area to you. Hoona is a small fishing village of less than 1,000 people. They had a cannery that closed in the 1950s, and it sat closed for decades until the town decided to rehabilitate the facility and create a private cruise ship port and name it Icy Strait Point. So cruise ships started coming here in 2004. This is where we arrived. This area is called Wilderness Landing. Here you're going to find a fire pit, a gift shop, bathrooms, tour sales, and the Sky Glider. It's the gondola that goes to the top of Sky Peak. We took the transporter gondola across to Keet Plaza. This is where you're going to find Duck Point, Smokehouse Restaurant, and the Adventure Park, and the landing zone for the zip rider. So from here, you'll walk along the boardwalk to the cannery, where you'll find the Cannery Museum, 12 retail shops, and several restaurants. Let's go have a look. One more thing worth mentioning is this is where our ship was docked today, but there's also a pier over here near Keet Plaza, and your ship may be docked there as well. So back at Wilderness Landing, there is a gift shop that had some really nice stuff. Good to note, they actually had some pharmacy type items here, as well as glasses if you forgot those at home. And of course, you can buy souvenirs. So this is the port of call where I buy my woolly mammoth souvenir. You'll see that a little later in the video. If you've been following along in this Alaska shopping series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, you know, one thing I really need to point out is how vastly different each port of call has been here in Alaska. Even the things they sell in the gift shops from port to port have been different. Let's get on the transporter gondola and head over to Keet Plaza and have a look at the other areas. Before we leave this area, I want to mention that if you would like a bird's eye view of this area, this is where you'll catch the Sky Glider sightseeing gondola to the top of Sky Peak. Now let's get on the transporter gondola and head over to Keet Plaza. This gondola is free of charge. It will take you from Wilderness Landing to Keet Plaza. It only takes 4 minutes. And if you're someone who's scared of heights, this one really keeps you fairly low to the ground. It's a very enjoyable ride. Your other option is to walk. It's only half a mile through the woods on a path, but I'm going to warn you, there could be bears, and there were bears when we were there. In fact, Chichagof Island, where we are, has the highest population of bears per square mile of any place on Earth. So be careful. All right, we've landed at Keet's Point. If you're a diehard shopper, we're getting to it. But first, this is what you can expect from this area. This is also the other docking point for cruise ships that I showed you earlier. So we're going to have a look at Duck Point Smokehouse quickly. Here's a peek at the menu. You can have lunch here or grab a bottle of water. You can enjoy their fire pit on the deck. It's such a beautiful day here in Icy Strait Point. We've had amazing weather for our entire trip. Now here's the big draw at Icy Strait Point, the world's largest zip rider or zip line. And you can watch the riders get ready on the screens, and here they come. From here, it's a 5-minute walk along the boardwalk to the restored Cannery. It's a beautiful walk along the shore. You'll go past private homes along the beaches, and you're welcome to walk down to the water and do some beach combing. There are stairs giving you access to the beach, so be sure to use those rather than trying to climb over the bushes and logs to get there. From here, you'll see whales, you can see seals and fish, and you may even see a bear or two. So the first place you'll come to is the Cookhouse restaurant. Actually stopped here for some fish and chips. They were really good. There was a little squirrel scurrying around trying to beg for French fries from everyone. You can get burgers, fries, you can even get reindeer chili. We are going to head into Tlingit Botanicals. That's not easy for me to say. This store sells traditional plant remedies from Southeast Alaska. You'll also find some very interesting handmade items in this store. Sometimes when I get home from a trip, I wish I had bought certain things that I feature on my video. In this store, this is the item, an authentic Alaskan walrus whisker toothpick. That is so unusual. I like to own unusual things, and they make for fun conversations later when you get home. This was a really beautiful store with incredible handmade jewelry and art pieces. Have a look at this piece called Kayak and Seal Hunter by Brian Amos. It's so interesting because it's made from stone and bone, wood, and rawhide. I saw several sculptures similar to this throughout Alaska that use multiple different materials to create their pieces. They're so fascinating to look at. Next time I go to Alaska, that's something I would really like to bring home. Next, we're going to head to the main part of the old cannery, which houses a museum and several shops. The shops are they're kind of intertwined and they run fairly seamlessly from one shop to another. So I may not have named them all, but if there's something that you're looking for that you see in this video, it won't be hard to find as you wander through here. If you're someone who loves puzzles, these were pretty fantastic. The wolf puzzle is 300 pieces, and that's my max for puzzles. But there was also this grizzly bear puzzle with 1,000 pieces. They ranged in price from $20 to $30. They also had some fun puzzles for kids like these ones here. Like I said earlier, one shop kind of runs into the next shop, so it's kind of hard to tell which shop you're actually in when you're walking through the old cannery. They have some beautiful things in this particular store, and one of my weaknesses actually is cookbooks, especially ones that tell a story. So these are all cookbooks by Alaskan people, and the main ingredients feature local delicacies like fish and seafood and wild berries. And the cookbooks have names like Fishes and Dishes, the Alaska Wild Berry Cookbook, Homestyle Recipes from the Far North, Homestead Kitchens, and Living Within the Wild. And my favorite is My Teeny Alaskan Oven by LaDonna Rose Gunderson. She lives on a fishing boat with her husband, and she cooks out of a teeny onboard oven for the whole crew. Her story is so interesting, and she actually has several cookbooks for you to check out. I'll also add links to these cookbooks below if you want to have a look at them. Here's a glass cutting board featuring Icy Strait Point. And right next to those, I'll show you in a second here, are these wooden postcards. They're really unique. You can write your message on the back and put a stamp on it and mail it off. But the cool thing about them is that they are actually a wooden envelope as well, with 2 tea bags inside. The first one has a high energy tea, and the second one has a Midnight Sun herbal tea, and they're from Sipping Streams Tea Company out of Fairbanks, Alaska. I love these stainless steel salt and pepper mills. I have them at home actually, just without the design on them. They're really heavy duty. They do a great job grinding salt and pepper. If you really love Alaska, you can buy an embossed rolling pin and make cookies with an Alaska print on them. You might have to explain the print to people, but that's kind of the fun of it. Make sure you put a lot of flour on your dough before you roll those out. I have one of those, and sometimes the dough tends to stick in the little spaces there. So this particular store has a lot of kitchen themed items, as you can see. You know what, I could spend an hour in here just looking at everything, especially those cookbooks and the spice mixes. But let's move on. If you watched my earlier videos in the series, I talked about how I forgot to bring a coat on this trip, and I was madly running around the night before trying to find a coat to buy in the middle of summer. Do not worry, there will be coats and sweaters, firstly on the ship for you to buy, and warm clothing at each port of call. There is no shortage of coats, rain gear, sweaters, rain ponchos, socks, hats, gloves, sweatshirts, and umbrellas should you need them. For our entire trip, we've had amazingly warm weather, but I know Alaska can be cold and wet in any months of the summer. I thought we were going to get through at least one port without a jewelry store, but here it is. If you've been watching my Alaska shopping series, you've heard me mention a bit about the woolly mammoth. This is from the Skagway video that I did, and throughout our trip I've become increasingly obsessed with owning a piece of a woolly mammoth. Like I said earlier in this video, I like owning unusual things. That's why I wish I had bought the walrus whisker toothpick. So I work in education, and let me tell you, I have the best show and tell items ever. Who gets to not only see a very well preserved prehistoric animal, but to be able to touch a piece and own a piece is so cool. I decided to buy a piece of woolly mammoth tooth. I did a little research about the woolly mammoth tooth, and as you can see, here's the top part of it. It's all bumpy. That's the part that they would chew with, and there's the side of the tooth there. And as I turn it around here, you can see like the insides of the tooth. That's just so crazy. Apparently, they go through 6 sets of teeth in their lifetime, and I'll add a link below in the description if you're interested in reading about this kind of stuff. Here you can see that they've made knife handles out of woolly mammoth teeth. I ended up paying about $40 for my piece of prehistoric woolly mammoth. I'm obsessed with the woolly mammoth. I'm buying one. Icy Strait Point has some great shopping, and it's kind of nice because it's all concentrated in the one big building, really. So we're the only ship in port on this day, but I can see this area being really busy if there are several ships in port. So here are the specialty made ulu knives. Check out the handles on them. They're all a little bit different. And the sculptures that I love that are made from multiple different materials. And check out the baleen baskets made from the flexible bristles of plankton eating whales. I'm not kidding. And have a look at these beautiful handmade wood and stone knives and the local woodwork. There's so much to see. There are so many hand-carved and handmade items. I personally really love things that are made from nature or locally sourced things like antlers, stone, and wood. Of course, you can get the usual commercially made souvenirs here as well if that's what you're looking for. Lots of t-shirts, there's shot glasses, and the factory-made ulu knives as well. This store also had some really unique Christmas decorations, so be sure to spend some time and have a look through here. We'll have a look at a couple of things in this store I want to point out. I love these fish. They're made with all different kinds of materials and different painting styles. And these pictures up here made with concrete and little tiles. They're really beautiful. And I love the jade bears. Those were absolutely beautiful. And a few more carvings. And these paintings were lovely. I'm not sure if they were actually hand painted or a print on there. They look pretty authentic though, like when you have a look up close. Yeah, beautiful. Probably a print on there is my guess. And then there's these ones on handmade paper. Really beautiful. So one more thing you may want to do while you're on this end of town is head into the village of Hoona itself. There is a shuttle bus that you can find right behind the cannery. The town is 1.5 miles away, just 5 minutes by shuttle or a 30-minute walk. And lots of people walked it. It's a safe and very scenic walkway. Now I did pop onto the shuttle just to see what the town looked like. I think it was about $5 or something round trip. It was a Sunday when we were there, so a lot of the businesses were closed in town, but driving through gives you an idea of what it looks like. So Hoona is the largest, here's that word again, Tlingit village in Alaska and one of the largest in the US. The population sits just under 800 people. I think I mentioned that earlier in the video. And Hoona is known for excellent whale watching opportunities. You'll have the chance to see humpback whales and orcas in the nearby waters, so keep your little eyes open for those. Huna is home to various wildlife, including bears, eagles, sitka, black-tailed deer, sea otters, and seals. So interestingly, many residents of Huna engage in something called subsistence lifestyle, meaning they rely on hunting, fishing, and gathering for their sustenance for the year. So Huna's economy relies heavily on commercial fishing, particularly salmon and halibut. The nearby Icy Strait experiences some of the largest tidal differentials in the world. So the tides actually ranging up to 25 feet or more. That's amazing. So something that's really important to Huna is sustainable tourism, and it's committed to tourism practices that balance the economic benefits of tourism with the need to preserve the region's natural and cultural resources for the future generations. So if you have time to take a spin into the village of Huna, either by walking or by shuttle, I highly recommend doing so. I always find it interesting to see how people live, where they shop, what their homes look like, where they go to school, their places of worship, and of course, where they get a good cup of coffee. All right, we've made our way back to Keet Plaza, and we'll take the 4-minute transporter gondola ride to Wilderness Landing, where our ship is docked. I want to show you some cool things along the way. Now, I'm not sure if this was open yet or not. Maybe it's something new. I don't see any people on it, but this is the Treetop Adventure Park and Ropes course. It's a self-guided course with 4 difficulty levels. Once you arrive, you'll get a harness and gloves, and you're hooked on to a pulley by a carabiner. And you work your way advancing through the course at your own pace. It looks like a lot of fun. You can expect to spend 2.5 hours on this course. I'll add a link below for this experience for you to check out. It's for ages 7 and up to 250 pounds. Check out the deer just munching away below us. You can catch glimpses of the pathway through the forest if you feel like walking. Remember, it was only half a mile and took about 15 minutes. This was such a nice port of call. Not at all what I was expecting. I know it's all been built up for the cruise ship and the tourism industry, all the gondolas, the zip line, the boardwalk, and everything. But you know what? They did a good job. It was a peaceful, relaxing day. Maybe I would have felt different if it was pouring rain and there were 3 ships in port, but this day felt relaxing to me. And I really loved the trip into the town of Huna itself. This is such a pretty area. It's so lush and green. I spent some time down by the water doing a little beach combing. I also got my woolly mammoth souvenir, which you saw. I'm excited to show my husband that, and of course, bringing it to school for show and tell. If you've been following along in this series, you'll have been to Juneau with me, Skagway, and Sitka. Our next port of call is Ketchikan. I'll be releasing that video in the next week or 2, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on seeing that. If you like my travel and shopping videos, spend some time checking out my channel. Keith and I are global travelers. We've been to some cool places like Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and a big trip we have coming up is to northern France, where we'll be checking out places like Vimy Ridge and the beaches of Normandy. So thank you so much for watching right to the end. Do me a favor, give my video a thumbs up. That actually goes a long way in the world of YouTube. Check out my links below for Icy Strait Point and for our favorite anti-theft day packs. Thanks for watching Tinagirl Travels today, and I will see you in Ketchikan.